On March 11th, Turning Red premiered, and the movie has been well received since. This film definitely shows how Pixar is diverting from its usual style and having fun with its creations. From its character designs to environments and animation, the movie introduces a refreshing style that had previously been criticized before its release. As of writing the script, Turning Red is, well, really green right now. So the formation of its possible fandom is still in its early stages. Regardless, people have already openly shared their opinions of this movie and have posted fan art in their own headcanons. Currently, there's one ship from this movie that has been sticking out and drawing attention, and so far people's reactions have been quite interesting.
Pixar was too lame to make them girlfriends.
Sorry y'all can't perceive two girls being friends without them dating.
No, it is very important to me that the two preteen girls in the movie kiss each other.
Oh, you haven't heard? Friendship no longer exists. These girls, gay. The boys from Luca, gay. Mario and Luigi, gay.
Mario and Luigi are brothers, homie.
I understand the feeling of wanting to ship on some shows because, well, it makes it more entertaining. But not everything has to be LGBT+. They're all dismissing the whole movie's message.
They did the same thing with Luca 2. Like, goddamn, can y'all stop thinking about kids?
Remember guys, if you have a good friendship going on, that means you're also their boyfriend too.
Isn't it funny how these are the same people boycotting Disney a few days ago and are now showing support for Disney by watching a movie from them?
These folks can see two girls just staring at each other for a second and they go, ooh, they love each other.
Those who cannot conceive of friendship as a substantive love but only as a disguise or elaboration of eros betray the fact that they have never had a friend.
If you find yourself lost, I don't blame you, so here's some context. Turning Red is about a 13-year-old named Maylene, who starts going through some changes that, well, change your life, to say the least. The movie doesn't shy away from the topic of puberty, and has some pretty good symbolism when it comes to the journey through adolescence. Our protagonist is joined by her friends Miriam, Pyrrha, and Abby, and while they each play a pretty relevant role in Maylene's life, Miriam seems to be the closer one out of the three, with Miriam getting the most lines and playing a bigger role when compared to her other companions. So, as expected, there was those who started to ship them. This video really isn't about the ship itself, but rather the tension surrounding it, considering I think it brings up a common problem concerning shipping culture. Something I kept seeing often was that people were getting upset with the fact that seemingly grown adults or mature users were expecting adult content from kids' medias. I think it's an interesting thing to immediately associate something romantic with something sexual. Of course, this is sort of an expected thing in the adult world where sex and romance appears to be so heavily tied into each other while also not. Because you can have a one-night stand and still get nothing out of it, whereas in an actual relationship, it means commitment and intimacy. I generally don't think it's fair when people jump to the conclusion that others thinking two certain individuals would look good together immediately means they want them to do something sexual, because most of the time that's not the case. Sexual and romantic attraction are two different things, and if you're unable to understand that, let me give you the definitions. Sexual attraction comes from the sexual desire for something or someone. It's about who you see in front of you and what they look like. Romantic attraction is the one to have a romantic relationship with someone outside of sex. It goes a little bit deeper, being more about attachment and creating a bond. As I said before, you can have sex with someone, and it can stop there. You're not entitled to the other and vice versa. And that's what separates romantic attraction from sexual, because romance normally means the dedication to the other. And that's normally what shipping is about. It's the potential between the two characters, and the sort of dynamic they can have if invested more into, such as turning it into a romance. Next point that was brought up a lot was people's failure to see the difference between a platonic and romantic relationship, with some people even going further and saying people who are unable to identify that line are depraved or are degenerates. Now, these are strong assumptions to be making about others, and it doesn't help that those questioning this point are immediately ridiculed with comments, such as having no friends or having porn-addicted brains. I can admit it's harmful when people are unable to see the difference between the types of affection that can be shown towards another, regardless of gender. But it's also a problem when generalizing those who decide to pair characters romantically, when in canon, these characters are also friends. Of course, I know the main reason these sort of points keep being brought up is because the characters in question at the moment. They're 13-year-olds, not to mention they're both girls, and I think that's the main reason why there's a lot of controversy. There's a lot of opinions to be shared, and the majority I've seen is about how annoying it is that characters can't be friends now without being shipped, or the fact that they are young girls, or how irritating it is that people are making everything gay. Now, I can understand how it gets increasingly annoying how shipping culture seems to be invading everything, and how it seems those who surf the internet are unable to go to a fandom space without encountering shipping. I think it's a reasonable complaint, and shipping isn't everyone's tea. And even more reasonable when the person is unable to see those characters together. Usually no amount of convincing or persuasion will change that opinion, and that's fine. My problem is with these other 2 points. They're 2 young girls, and stop making everything gay statements. I think these 2 go hand in hand with the point I'm going to make. The initial reason why I wanted to make this video was because of this, because honestly, these points bother me. In this movie, it's clearly shown that our main lead and her pals are interested in boys. There are several scenes to back this up, with even the main character outright stating it. I like boys! I don't have a problem with that. I don't think anyone does, and I think the fact itself is what makes it a problem, because in the universe where this line specifically here said I like girls instead, there would be a stir. And this example goes to every scene where Malin has openly expressed her interest in boys, such as if the character Devon happened to be a female. You would bound to see the sentiment that Malin is a 13-year-old. She can't be gay. This is adults projecting themselves on her. And honestly, I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but queer youth exist. You can basically be any age and be part of the LGBT community. I think it shows that for some odd reason, being any sort of queer is associated with sex and maturity in an adult context. Because it's a stigma that has plagued the LGBT community for a long time now, where same-sex relationships go as far as affecting TV ratings thanks to prejudiced perceptions.
So this gets you a PG-13, while this
I'd like to you.
Gets you an R. And this
I'd like to you.
Gets you an NC-17, because they also routinely rate LGBT sex as more objectionable than straight sex.
Recently, there has been a problem in the industry. It's a massive one, honestly. Movies and TV shows have been suffering from an oversaturation of LGBT representation lately. It's been forced down our throats at this point. Anything we watch now is filled to the brim with representation, as if the creators and writers are trying to earn as much woke points as they can. It's just everywhere, and it's starting to become an inconvenience. I think the only way we can solve this issue is if we start bringing back the old days. Like in the 50s, you know? The shows that actually mattered and taught us good life lessons. If we could just put politics aside for once, we could walk away from the screen with something we didn't have before. Okay, but on a genuine note, why the fuck are people getting so mad about LGBT people projecting themselves in something to feel represented? For years and years and years now, the West has been fed by cis and straight media. It is only now in the past decade where the LGBT community is finding its voice and making up for the lack of representation that it has missed out on for over a century now. The queer youth is a thing, and that portion of the community continues to grow. Having LGBT representation isn't about making things gay just because people want them to be gay. Having LGBT representation is about validating its existence and normalizing the fact that not everyone's the same. Wanting this sort of stuff in children's media is so children can know that there's options and their identity isn't just black and white. Because children are unbiased, and their judgments are based on what they're taught. It isn't any form of brainwashing to feature LGBT representation, it's just educating children on topics that very much exist. There are plenty of movies and shows where romance between children is displayed and no one bats an eye because it's between a boy and a girl. Whether or not you want to admit it, it's kind of homophobic to immediately start showing aggression the moment it's a same-sex relationship. And I know, homophobic is a very scary word, and I honestly didn't want to pull it out, but quite frankly, that's just how it seems. Kids have crushes at the age of 13 and 14, evident in the movie itself. In the end, I just wanted to point out these issues and how some of the points made are flawed. I understand how shipping culture can be overwhelming for others, and sometimes people just want to avoid romance. But to claim those who ship are degenerates or depraved is going too far in my opinion. I think this ship itself just shows the stigma that continues to grow around concerning the queer youth and how the LGBT community keeps being villainized by homophobes. Regardless of the intentions surrounding the drama though, it's a headcanon, stay mad.